Welcome back to Retail Talks. I'm Christina, and with me, as always, is Darko Pavic, CEO of Fiscal Solutions. Today's topic is especially interesting because both Darko and I are passionate about marketing, and we are talking about a trend that could completely reshape retail marketing. But before we start, just a quick reminder, if you have any questions or want to share your thoughts and your opinion during our conversation, please feel free to leave a comment or just write anything you want in the comments. So we would really like and love to hear your thoughts. So let's begin. Starbucks has started paying employees to create TikTok content. TikTok has introduced a new feature called Custom Creator Networks, and companies like Dell and Ulta Beauty are investing more than ever in employee creators. So let's start with the news itself. What actually happened, and why is this announcement much bigger than it sounds? Darko, hello.
Hi, Tina. Hi to everyone. I love this topic. I love this topic because, let's say, due to two reasons, actually, I have. One reason is I love coffee. And the second reason, we tried something very similar. We wanted to have internal micro-influencers as well. And we tried to create, let's say, content creators out of our employees. And it was not good. It was a bad idea. And I will talk about that as well a little bit. But before we do that, tell me, please, just a couple of words about coffee culture in Serbia, because I found out that coffee culture in every country is different. What about Serbia?
We love coffee, actually. A lot of us drink Turkish coffee, Serbian coffee, I would say. And some of us also drink Nescoffee, something like that, that is not so strong, but we'll just love to drink it. Sit with a friend, family, colleague, and just talk, chit chat. We would say it like that. Morning coffee, afternoon coffee, sometimes even evening coffee. It depends, but the culture is here.
But if I tell you, come on, let's drink a coffee, what do you think what I'm asking you to do?
That is hanging out. That exactly. Is not a coffee for 15 minutes. That is 2-hour companion, yes. I would say.
So it's a real secret language, let's say, a local language. So if somebody invites you to drink coffee, it means he wants or she wants to spend time with you. That's it.
Of course. Sometimes, unfortunately, some of my friends and I meet just once in a month. And when we do that, first message is, are we going to the coffee this week? Yeah, of course.
So this means that we meet. Yes.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. If you do the same thing in Germany, the people would expect that we meet at 3:00 in the afternoon, latest 4:00, and that somebody will bring cakes, let's say, and that we will really drink coffee and eat some cake. That's it. No big discussions. Of course, relaxed discussions as well, but it's not the major topic. The major topic is cake and coffee. So, and in US, it's totally different. In US, especially in big cities like New York, you see the people running with a cup of coffee in the hands all around very fast, and they just grab it and go. And that's the topic that we will discuss today. Starbucks. Tell me again, are there any Starbucks in Serbia?
Yeah, we have a couple of Starbucks locals in Belgrade, our capital. So yeah, we have a couple of 3, 4, 5, I'm not sure.
In Germany, there are also lots of Starbucks, but not that many because the coffee culture is different or totally different than in US. Mm-hmm. And different than Starbucks is trying to establish one. So that's why I think in some countries Starbucks has a really great success because the coffee culture is very similar to the idea which they have. And in some other countries they are struggling even to establish because the coffee culture is different. Mm-hmm. But today we will not talk that much about coffee culture. as well, but not that much. We will talk about news, and you mentioned TikTok. And what actually happened is following. During the Cannes Lions, Cannes in France, this is a quite big international marketing event over there. They announced, TikTok announced something what you just mentioned before called custom creator networks. You can imagine that as a kind of possibility to create a group within the TikTok, group of people, group of creators, which could be maybe your employees or partners or advocates or whoever. And those group of people can create, or they have first common target, and then they create a content around that target. And this is targeted to the brands. So the TikTok wants to attract brands to create this kind of groups, let's say, of content creators. And those content creators are then publishing the content, which can earn money through the ad revenue, of course. And the first company, and that was announced as well during that big event, the first company that is testing this kind of feature is Starbucks. And this is interesting now, of course, because Starbucks is quite familiar with this kind of strategies, because they started with a very similar topic in 2025. So it's not really new for Starbucks, but it's quite new feature on the TikTok. So what is also very interesting, Starbucks want to run the pilot, let's say, on that platform, on that feature from TikTok, and they will pay, let's say, the creators to do that. But I'm not sure if they will really pay the money to them, but I'm totally sure that they will do kind of sharing of ad revenue, which is created by that content. So it's probably not directly paying them, but sharing the revenue which they earn with the content, which is also very good and very fine.
Yeah.
I mentioned that the Starbucks has already experience with that. And they started with a very similar program called Global Coffee Creator Program, end of 2025. So what they basically did, they invited some of the employees to create the content related to the certain stories of Starbucks. For example, in one moment, they invited the people to Rwanda. So they paid the costs of the traveling to Rwanda just to create a couple of pieces of content, means reports and so on, around that topic, around the coffee which is produced in Rwanda. And this is really interesting. And one of those videos from one of those employees I have with me. So let's have a short look how that looks like.
Just a second.
Starbucks flew me to Rwanda to see the process that makes their coffee premium. As a Latina who immigrated from Colombia, I grew up seeing coffee farms, okay? But I had never seen the massive industrial side of the process after coffee is washed or sun-dried, let alone in Africa. Standing in Rwanda alongside 40 other coffee lovers, we went completely behind the scenes. From the very first moment bags are unloaded, the attention to detail is insane. But walking into the main dry mill, looking at these massive machines, I honestly wondered, what is all of this actually doing? It turns out it's like an elite obstacle course for coffee beans, literally built in 3 stages of quality control. First, they're shaken through giant screens to separate them by size. Next, they separate coffee beans by density, and density means more flavor. And finally, high-speed cameras scan every single bean.
Okay, so probably we have some network issues.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Never mind. It's almost at the end. What do you think about this video?
I think it's fascinating. I mean, especially if employees love coffee and they are so passionate about coffee, I think that this could be a very fun part of this job.
Yeah, but I think as I saw it for the first time, I was, to be honest, very surprised because it's almost professional video.
Yeah,
so I thought that good. It is. So I thought it's a kind of influencer who is doing that. So I checked that lady. No, she's normal employee. She has around 5,000, 6,000 followers. So nothing that big. But nevertheless, I think obviously she is very talented and doing a good job. So this is exactly what Starbucks did actually last year. And now they are continuing on the platform TikTok. So it's a quite similar topic. And I think this idea of creating more or producing more employer-generated content is becoming really popular. on the side of the not just brands and retailers, but in general on every company, in every company.
Yes.
And that's why I wanted to tell you a story about us, because we tried that as well, and it was not really good. It was, it felt like an advertisement, because if you pay the people to do it, then it feels like it's paid advertising, and people usually don't like paid advertising. And if you don't do that, then people feel like forced to do that. And then you create lots of stress in your company, because everybody thinks that you are forcing them to create the content. Although it's not like that, but this is kind of situation that it happens. So it's a risky issue, and we will talk about risks as well.
I agree with you totally. And honestly, I think that this could be very good, but just in those scenarios where employees really enjoy in doing this. So enjoy in making contact and actively doing that in their personal life, maybe. So in that scenarios, I think that is very good. But I agree with you completely when it comes to forcing people.
Yeah, and this lady, everybody can see that she's talented, let's say, and she is really passionate about the content and coffee. But if you have so many employees like Starbucks, then its probability is very high that you will find the people that are really talented in the area of marketing and content creation and so on. We are a small company, so we are not able to find that good talents in that area, of course, and then it's more difficult. Then it feels like pushed and forced,
Yes. And Darko, tell me, how did we get to this point? So what do you think? Why are retailers shifting from, let's say, traditional influencers to their own employees as brand creators?
I will present you my own theory. So maybe it's wrong. Probably it's wrong, but it's a theory. So, but before we get into the theory, let me explain you a little bit or give you some feedback about Starbucks itself, because it's a fascinating company, and what is happening now around the marketing, it's a part of the strategy, let's say. And to understand it, I want to give you a couple of facts from the history. So, if I had to summarize the strategy of Starbucks in just one sentence, I would do it like this. They are trying actually to use the simple product like coffee in order to establish some kind of global habit, let's say. And they are doing that by majorly two tools. First, digital loyalty ecosystem, which is very big and very strong on Starbucks side. And then something else, they're using the space, the coffee shop itself, to create something very special. They are calling it third place. Means the first place is actually your home where you are living. The second place is your place where you are working. And the coffee shop is becoming third place. So the strategy of Starbucks is to create the place on that way that you love, spend your time over there. So, but let me before I go in the content creation details, let me give you historical points. First, Starbucks is a quite old company, more than 50 years, 50. They started in April 1971 in Seattle, US, of course. And today they have 41,000 stores, 41,000 coffee shops, unbelievable number. And around half of them are franchising stores, and the other half is still owned by Starbucks itself. And now if you just look at those Starbucks-owned stores, let's say, the majority of them, around 61%, are in US and China. So these are the two biggest markets of Starbucks. In US, they have around 16 or even 17,000 stores, 17, and in China, around 8,000. So it's giant company. Just in 2025, they had around $37 billion turnover. So it's a really, really huge company. But it's difficult to manage that big company, of course. The times and market are changing, so they have challenges as well. So they started struggling a couple of years ago, and they had to do something. They had to change and adapt, of course, the strategy. And in that area, in that time point, this was around 2024, they decided to introduce the new CEO. And his target should be to change the company and to adapt the company. That was the guy called Brian Niccol. And Brian was coming from Chipotle. Chipotle is also a very famous fast food chain in the US. And his job there was to turn around the strategy of the company and, let's say, to make it successful again. Exactly the same situation like Starbucks was in 2024. So he started defining the new strategy. And that new strategy was called, and it's still called, Back to Starbucks. So the idea was to bring the brand, Starbucks, back to what made it so special. Better coffee houses, third place, a stronger customer connection means loyalty, faster service, better items, more innovative items, and so on. But not only that he was focusing on that, he did also some other things. One of those big things that he did was in April this year, and he finalized actually the joint venture with a Chinese company called Boyu Capital. Basically, he split the Chinese stores in two parts. 60% of the stores were moved to that Chinese company, and 40% was or are still today in the hands of Starbucks. But the license and the brand IP, let's say, it's still on the Starbucks side. This is quite a good idea. Together with that company, Chinese company, Boyu, they decided to create expansion plan in China, totally new one. And now they are planning 2,000 stores in China. Unbelievable. And they are on a good way to reach that. But coming back to the strategy, and let's talk about a little bit about marketing in that new strategy. So the key part is something what they called green apron service. This is actually effort on Starbucks to make the stores more personal. And you know, if you want to make something personal, you have to involve the people. And the first touch point of the consumer and customer, if you are entering the coffee shop, is barista, actually, the guy who is serving you. So this means if you want to make the place much better and more personal, you have to create great image of the person which is welcoming you as you enter the store, means barista. And the best way to do that today, of course, in this kind of technological environment and developed environment, is by using social networks. So if each and every barista explains own story to the world through the social networks, the store will become more personalized, because if you enter the store, you will know, I know that guy from Instagram or TikTok or whatever, and you will feel more familiar, of course. So this is basically the strategy that Starbucks was doing and changing in the moment. And now we see already first results, and they are very positive. Already in first or second, actually, quarter of this year, the global sales of Starbucks increased by 6.2%. This is a lot. And they earned around 9% more revenue, which is, after the second quarter, around $9.5 billion. So it's a strategy is really successful. It's showing all the results. But you mentioned Dell and Ulta Beauty and so on. This is the next step. So at the beginning, I thought it's just an idea of Starbucks. They're changing the strategy, and it's fine, of course. But then I saw the other retailers and other brands are doing very similar thing. For example, Dell started kind of internal ambassador program where they took some of the employees which have a talent to create, and they are paying them to produce the content on the social network as well. So they created kind of micro-influencers from them. And Ulta Beauty did it very similar. They created some kind of associate ambassador program, how they call it. They started the selection within the company. More than 1,500 people responded on that, internal people, employees, but just 30 were selected. And now, every month, Ulta Beauty, so means the company, is commissioning creation of 2 content pieces per month for those 30 people, and they are paying really directly to those people to do that. And there are lots of examples which are very similar. So it seems that there is a trend starting, that employees are becoming content creators and micro-influencers for the companies and for the big brands.
Yes. What could this change, let's say, for retailers over the next few years, maybe? Because I think that this could impact a lot.
Absolutely. In last couple of months, we are talking a lot about physical store, how the physical store is changing. These topics that are, of course, micro-influencing strategies are changing the physical store. And this is very interesting because, till yesterday, the store was a sales channel. You just put your items in the store, people arrived and pick up the items and bought them. But now the stores are becoming media studios as well. So you can go into the store, make selfie or whatever, share it on the social networks, and the retailers are even forcing that. The more they are forcing this kind of content creation, the more a store becoming media studio. So this is exactly the change which is happening. But this is not the only one. The employees are, or were at least, just staff till yesterday, people that are doing certain tasks. But now they are becoming micro-creators, which are partially running the marketing strategies of the retailers. So this means the role of the employee is much bigger. It's more important than just, let's call it like that, somebody who is fulfilling certain tasks. So this is very positive. And at the end, we can see, let's say, the big shift from the influencer marketing, which of course, it's normal, typical influencer marketing, to own micro insider influencer marketing, which is from, coming from outside back to inside the company, and you can control that much, much better. So the changes are really big, and all of them are very positive, of course, because obviously the store will become more important.
But again, we always have some negative things and some risks. So what are the biggest risks here? What do you think?
Yeah, I mentioned a little bit the first risk which we had as we started with that. So the risk was actually to get bad image, because somebody could see it as forcing the employees to do cheap marketing, because you don't need to pay external agencies. You are pushing your own employees to do that. I'm sure that the retailers are not thinking in that direction, and it's not helpful for anyone if you have that kind of influencer marketing. But some people from outside could think like that. This is one risk. Another risk is, of course, that if you are paying the content, then it feels suddenly as a paid advertising. It's not anymore something, organical, created on the organical way, but it's something that you paid for. And then you lose, let's say, this authenticity that you wanted to have. So that's why if you are a company, I think you should think very well about the strategy and how to find the right people which would do this kind of marketing in order not to get the bad image and bad side of that.
Do you think that every type of industry, every company can do marketing with in this way, let's say?
More or less. Because, for example, we are a company in B2B world and the market. So for us, it's not that important that the employees who don't have connections with our customers on the other side of the planet share something. It's okay from the employer branding point of view and important for the image, definitely. But we will not win the customer because the employee don't have connection with potential customer. So that's why in the situations like we are, typical B2B business, it's maybe not that okay, it's okay, but not that important, let's say. In the B2C world, it can be absolutely very important. And I think in the B2C world, everybody should think about that strategy, because this is the way to multiply, let's say, your marketing strategy.
Yes, I agree with you. Before we wrap this up, I would just want to say one more time, if anyone has questions or want to share their thoughts, the comments are open, so don't hesitate. And Darko, what is your final advice for retailers that are considering maybe investing in employee creators?
The final words would be do it, as always. Each and every session I finalize with do it, but be very careful about that, because it's a dangerous tool. It can be very successful, but it can damage your image as well. So that's why be wise, calculate your strategy and select your strategy step very carefully, and then you should do it, and it can be very successful, yes.
Thank you, Darko. And thank you, everyone, for joining us today. I loved this episode, I have to say. It was very fun. Also, as always, we love to keep the conversation going. Share your thoughts, your experiences in the comments, and also let us know if this is a trend you would maybe love to see in your own company. Why not? Also, don't forget.
Or what is the coffee culture in your country?
Oh, maybe, yeah. That's also interesting. Don't forget to follow, to like, and be here in the next Retail Talks. See you in the next episode.
Thank you so
Bye.
much. See you. Bye.